Hi, everybody. This is Dawn Mitchell, and welcome to Dawn of Sports. I know everyone's thinking it's the holiday season, but you know what? For Lea B Olsen, it's the prime of her basketball season on many fronts. So we're going to talk some Gopher women's hoops, check in with the Lynx, and of course, the Timberwolves. So we've got all that coming up with Lea.
We also have interesting developments in the WNBA CBA negotiations, which it's not our favorite topic, but we'll see if Lea has any thoughts on that as well. This is Dawn of Sports. Dawn Mitchell, of course, from Fox 9, longtime anchor here in the Twin Cities. I'm Jim Suhan from the Star Tribune and TalkNorth.com. This is TalkNorth.com. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studios. The best way to listen to this show or any of our many shows at the network, please subscribe to your favorite podcast app. We're also doing the John Krasinski Show, Viking Update Show, and Randy Shaver's High School Football Show on YouTube. Check them out that way as well. Thanks to Lexus, Wayzata, and Maplewood, and Minnesota Masonic Charities. Back to Dawn.
All right. Well, Lea, welcome back to the show. How are you doing? How was your holidays?
Wonderful. Everything's going well. I did officially lose my voice this weekend when I had 2 Timberwolves games going on. So
that's the worst.
It's kind of coming back, but it is kind of the worst. Jim Pete was calling it my flu game, but I wasn't actually sick. It was just like congestion in the throat.
I've had that before where I'm not even sick at all and my voice just goes. I don't know where it goes.
Yes.
I hope it's having a good time when it goes. It just leaves.
Exactly.
What is that throat coat? That's what everyone always tells me. That tea?
Yes.
Yes.
I was drinking it.
Oh, that's like the best thing. There's a guy I work with. He still goes, "Hello, Dawn," to me for like one of my first years when I got here. I lost my voice and people are like, why does he say that too, all creepy?
He still remembers.
Yep.
You know, I think it's always the wrong people who lose their voices.
There it is.
Have you ever lost yours?
Someone said maybe I need to be doing a little bit more listening. Yeah.
Oh, well, Lea, I'm glad if you want us to, if you have to whisper, we'll get it. Just don't whisper around Alexa if you have it in your house because she will mock you and whisper back at you. Did you know that?
I did not know that. I'm glad I don't know that.
Funny.
When I had no voice, I was
exactly.
like, Alexa, what time is it? She's like, it's 5:55. I'm like, what is going on?
We're so crazy. Close to Skynet taking over the planet.
Well, I know that we're just coming off Thanksgiving. We're about to get into all the holiday season. So everyone's schedule is crazy. So we appreciate you coming on here. Lea, let's first start with Gopher women's basketball. They're going to get into the thick of it. Number 7, Maryland's coming up. I just really love in the short term what Dawn Plitzer-White has done with this team already. They're disciplined, but they're going to be thrown into it this next game, though. What do you see from that?
Yeah, it's an incredible start for them to have to kick off with Maryland, who's, really yet to lose a game this season. But I like this. I like this Gopher squad. I think this is going to be where we kind of see the best of Coach Plitzer-White, of what she's put together. She's had this group for a while now. She's got, Mara Braun's back healthy, and Amaya Battles, starting to settle into her game. But I think most importantly, it's a team with depth and a team that knows how to do it. I think they're not going to be a dominant team, but I think they're going to be a dangerous team. And that I think they could get going at the right time of the season. They could knock someone out unexpectedly. Starting off with Maryland's going to be a big issue for them, but no better time than to, knock out one of the big dogs.
And I love how you said Mara Braun is back. I mean, not only has she been through so much that we know, to come back and not only have that confidence, but to be as physically strong and playing as well as she is in the early going here, that's a testament to who she is as a person, don't you think?
Yeah, she's the real deal. She's a scorer and she looks to score and she's a threat, at all 3 levels. And it's been one of those careers that's just been so kind of heartbreaking every time she goes down with that foot injury. But she really appears to just be healthy and ready to go. And I think the team will go as she goes. I think she is kind of the heart of the team and the engine. And so I think kind of her ability to score at will, and she kind of brings very cool energy to the team. I just think it really does matter having her being healthy if they want to get through this Big Ten that is really solid.
She's had some really nice games passing the ball. She and Amaya Battle both have seemed very unselfish up to this point of the season. Mara hasn't had maybe the scoring production that we would, I think, normally have expected of her. Is that her altering her game, or is that just some rust?
I think it's rust. I just think it's, scores need to be on the floor, shooting the ball and scoring. And until you're doing that consistently, it's hard to be at the top of your game. And so I think that's just where she's at right now. But to assume that she's going to be healthy, I think this team, because this is a team that tends to get better as the season goes on, and that's a testament to Coach Plitzko-White and her group of coaches. I think they do a good job of making players better. I think if they can keep her healthy, that's where they're going to be able to really make some moves towards the end of the season.
Lea, let me kind of pick your brain. If you could go back put the hat on of when you played. When you see a player like Mallory Heyer decide to leave a program, what does that do to the other players when, you've kind of been with her so long, she is who she is. So if you put your hat back on, how devastating could that have been, or what problems could you see?
Yeah, I think that was a heartbreaker, I would say, for the team. Anytime you're losing a senior who's been with you, who's been a starter for you all those years, that's kind of, the gold is when you get them to their senior year and they've stayed and the production that they can bring. And, she was a big body that provided good defense and some okay offense. And I thought it was disappointing. I don't know the details of it, but I'm sure for her teammates, it was a huge blow. And I can't even imagine leaving your senior year. I mean, I know things have changed, right? And back in the day when I was playing, you stayed for 4 years. And now a lot of people come and go, but she wasn't that. I don't think that was what everyone was assuming she was doing, was just leaving for money like you see in NIL movements. Right. So I thought that was unfortunate for the program, but hopefully they can kind of rebound from that situation.
Now, if you were the coach, how do you make sure that does not become an issue?
I think this is where, you have to kind of, as a coach, prove your communication skills to your players. I think Coach Plitzko-White is an incredible coach. And I think this is where she's going to have to show she's an incredible communicator. That she can spot when someone's feeling a little weird about what happened, or a little down, or a little negative, and catch it before it gets to be too negative. And so, that's the balance. That's the job of the assistant coaches as well, is to keep an eye on where everybody's at, how people are feeling. And the bottom line for every team in the country is you're dealing with human beings who have real emotions about what's going on in their own lives. And so being able to juggle that is a huge part of what it means to be a good coach. And so I think that will be critical for this coaching staff to keep an eye on these players.
Now, I know this is old news, but I am intrigued by your view of it. Former Gopher player, Division I athlete, someone who still works closely at the U, as well as all of your other duties. Was it when Brenda Oldfield, now Frese, left this program? Was it just as simple as she wanted to go to a bigger market and make more money, or do you know if there's anything more to it? And also, did that departure hurt you as somebody who's connected to that team?
Well, yes, actually, I was on the committee that brought her in to the University of Minnesota, and I will say this about her: of all the coaches that came through that we met, she walked in and she had the it factor. And it's, that elusive thing where when she left, just looking around the room going, that's the new head coach. Like, she just had it. And she clearly continues to have it at Maryland. She's such a just smart, incredible coach, but she has something that allows you to connect to her, want to play for her, just all those kind of things that are hard to describe. And so I didn't think at that time that she would probably stay at the University of Minnesota for a long time, but I certainly thought it would be longer than a year. So that was pretty heartbreaking, I think, because at that moment in time, if they could have held on to her, things would look, I think, a lot different for this program right now. I mean, look at, she took Addie Mack, a Minnesota girl, who played at Minnehaha Academy last year, and Addie was the freshman of the week in the country, and also Big Ten freshman of the week. So she's having a great start, but it's that ability to connect into all types of different kids. And for a player like Addie Mack to leave Minnehaha Academy to go play for Maryland is a really huge deal in my eyes, and it just speaks to her coaching and what she's able to do out there.
Well, so just to jump off that, when I first got here, Pam Borton was the head coach. What did and now she has her own company where she kind of motivates and creates leaders, not only female, but male. And she was a strong personality, and a lot of her players still love her, and she's still so supportive of them and still very much considers herself part of the Gopher family. When you see coaching like that, and Dawn Plitzwhite, she's different, she's not, I'm not comparing her to a Pam Borton, but you, Coach Phee, you spend some time around her, even me as a journalist, and all of a sudden you want to run through a wall too for her. What is it when you can have that it factor? Like Pam did, like Frese did, now Coach Phee. How important is that to mold these young players in addition to teaching them basketball and getting them, ready on the court, just to make them leaders that way?
Well, it's everything right now in coaching, especially with NIL. Now, Pam Borton didn't have to live through those NIL years, but, it used to be that if you could just convince players that you can help them, be great post basketball, and that you were in their corner for that, and that you're kind of this lifelong supporter of them, that would be enough. And now it's that you have to show them that you can build a brand, that you can help them make money, that you can help them turn into great players. And so it's the super unique skill set that sometimes has nothing to do with why players leave, right? It has nothing to do with the head coach. But when it does have something to do with the head coach, I think it just means that you have that ability to really, I think Coach Reeve does this really well. She has the ability to understand what people are going through, who they are, what their own particular situations are, because that's really all that matters to the individual player. And then they have to be successful within this team. And so being able to take the individual and get them to see the importance of the team is the key. And I really just think, I think what I've seen so far from Plitzwhite is that she has that skill. She's a little bit old school. And so can she continue on to hold on like Coach Reeve is old school, but they're able to do that because they're so good on the other side of the connecting into the players and making them feel seen, valued, and heard.
Good stuff on the Gophers. Let's talk a little bit about the WNBA and the Timberwolves, who you are always very active covering. A lot going on in the basketball world right now. Right now, we do want to remind you we're coming from the Aquarius Home Services studio, and we want to thank Lexus, Wayzata, and Maplewood. Thanks also to Minnesota Masonic Charities.
Oh, you had to bring up the WNBA, right?
Yeah,
and
well,
the CBA,
just saw a report.
Hit the snooze button. No, I'm joking.
There's some good reporters who are on this story, and one of the things they I think Annie Constable, or I think it was Annie who reported that one of the latest proposals from the league is that they start camp earlier, but they no longer provide housing for players. That to me feels like a classic negotiating tactic.
It does.
But what do you think, Leah?
Yeah, I mean, I think that should have been expected that they would do that. Why are they going to give everyone these huge pay raises and then continue to pay for their housing? So is it going to be negotiated? Absolutely. Maybe you can come up with a deal for players that are making under a certain amount that you would help them pay? Because I think in some of these markets in New York, Seattle, Minneapolis, living expenses would be a huge part of your income. And so it would be disappointing if these players who got a pretty decent raise then didn't really feel it as much, because now they're just putting that right back into their housing, right? So, and And the $1 million minimum, we know it isn't going to be for all players. It's going to be for select elite players. So definitely something to negotiate. I think, though, that should have definitely been expected, because that's the easiest thing for them to pull back on, as far as the WNBA and starting training camp early, all of that. I do think this is what's going to be difficult with this WNBA season is the season's so tight and compact. How are you even getting all these new teams in and all these games in? And the players have already been very critical about the amount of back-to-back situations, and players getting injured. And so stretching the season seems inevitable. So I'll be curious to see how that one plays out.
Yeah, it's almost like a double-edged sword, right? You know, you want more money, you want the growing pains of the league to kind of be eased as soon as possible. But then you're kind of putting that stress right back on the players, which kind of becomes like a catch-22 then.
Yeah, and I think for this one, where what the players really, really want to see is they're really just trying to see how much the league values them as players. And so they feel like they have given up so much to build this league. And now that it's built pretty strongly, the foundation and base are there, is the league going to be willing to share those revenue dollars as they go, and all of those other pieces. And I think that the housing one would be seen as one where you would be respecting the players by saying, yes, we'll take care of that for you. But in the end, like any business, they're thinking about money and how to make money and how to save money and all of those things. And so I think this is where the WNBA negotiators are going to have to be very savvy in how they negotiate with the players, because the players are feeling like they are being really disrespected by the league. And then as we start hearing about all these other leagues that are going to be popping up, that has to be, at least some concern, maybe not right now for the W, but in the next few years, probably a big concern.
Well, we've seen that with the NBA in years past, where then they'll merge and the best it's almost like the strongest and the best league will kind of emerge, but you kind of have to go through all those bumps along the way. So that's the scary part. And I always wonder too about the gap that's already exists between some of these teams anyway. Like they come into the Lynx and they see their gym and their resources, and it's like Shangri-La, and some of the other teams already don't have that. And I know that's not part of the CBA, but that rift, that gap can grow wider and wider, don't you think?
Yeah, well, and also the Lynx, I mean, they were the first to have all the nice stuff, but I'll tell you what, they're going to be needing to build on that, because what we're starting to see around the country is massive, and it's buildings and it's build outs and it's entire facilities, and so it's getting pretty aggressive out there, which is great for the players. As far as every new team who's coming in, they're having to promise that you're going to have all of these things in place. So yeah, absolutely. If you're not willing to dump money into your team now as an owner, you're going to be in real trouble.
And speaking of real trouble, do you think the commissioner will stick around?
I think the commissioner is in real trouble still. Yeah. I think this negotiation gives her the opportunity to try and heal the wounds and all the issues that have happened in the off season, or as soon as the season ended. And I think, the tricky part about being the commissioner is that you serve the owners and you serve the players. And so you have to make all of them happy. The fact that she wasn't making the players happy by doing simple things like calling people or recognizing them, or saying to Elena Deladon, thanks for a great career. Now that you're retired, I appreciate it, and sending her some flowers. I mean, like, that stuff seems so basic to me that it's hard to believe she wasn't doing that. But on the other side of it, if she can clean that up and get the respect back from the players, like getting this deal done may do, I think it would be a huge learning piece for her to understand that I think she was serving the owners and probably the sponsors more than she was the players, and trying to keep that balance is going to be critical for her.
What do you think of the notion, the accusation that because Napheesa Collier and Brianna Stewart are running the Unrivaled League and are also a big part of this of the Players Association, they have a conflict of interest? Does that make sense to you?
I think originally it did not, but I think eventually it will. Because I think what will happen as her league, as Napheesa Collier's league, Unrivaled, becomes bigger and bigger. And then if this Project B, which is supposed to start in a year, if that ends up being even bigger, where they're offering, $1 million contracts, but saying you have to maybe play in one league or the other, I think that's where it could become an issue to the WNBA. So right now, they're just off-season leagues that hopefully keep your players active and busy. Eventually, if there's enough money in these other leagues, you could start saying, well, we don't want you to play in the WNBA, or we don't want you to do this, or the parameters could change. So I think as of now, it shouldn't be considered anything that's competing with the W. It should be something that the W supports. And, but I would definitely be keeping an eye out on how some of these contracts are being signed, especially whatever happens with this newer league, Project B.
While you're talking, I'm like, I wish Lea B Olsen had that money coming from Unrivaled. I would have paid money to see you compete in Unrivaled, Leah.
or she could be
cool.
Or she could be the commissioner. Make pretty good money there.
There you go. Now you're talking.
I like how
I like how you think.
All right. Well, let's go to Timberwolves.
I would know when to send flowers to the players.
That's right. You do. You know how to say the right things. Yes. You wouldn't wear.
Handle those owners.
You'd make sure you weren't wearing a Statue of Liberty outfit.
There you go.
Oh my goodness, or whatever the skyline, whatever she was wearing. So when it comes to the Timberwolves, we all know Anthony Edwards. My goodness, how he can just kind of keep on performing. 30 points in the second half, tying a career high, 44, a new season high. He just, the kid just shows up and keeps dumping in points. But everyone's saying, look at the schedule at the beginning. Like they have a super easy schedule, and then they couldn't even get into the NBA Cup playoffs. There's so many people like saying, yes, here's Ant, but we need to support him a little bit more. It's almost like, here's Justin Jefferson. We need someone to throw him the football. What are your early thoughts on this team in regards to the disparity between maybe Ant and where the team might be going?
Well, I think this team is pretty solidly loaded. I really do. I think Ant is clearly a superstar. And to get him to the next level is when he's doing that every single night, and that consistency for him will be critical if the Wolves want to get back to the Western Conference Finals again, because he's a game changer, and that's what he did last night against the Pelicans. It looked like they were going to lose, and he took the game over, and it's the exact kind of player that New Orleans doesn't have, and so you can just see how big he is there. But when you start to see like how good Dante DiVincenzo's playing, when Julius Randle's playing hot, now that Jaden McDaniels is playing both sides of the ball, this team is sufficiently loaded. Their biggest issue, I think, is that kind of weird point guard situation. But as of late, they've been able to balance that out a little bit using Mike Conley, using Ant, and then giving Dillingham these short spurts to kind of pick up the pace of the play. But so could they use another 3-point scorer? Yes, probably, but I'm guessing most teams could. But so I actually do see it as a little bit different than that. I think this is a team that kind of weirdly, they always have these slow starts. And then when they get rolling, and it's almost like they realize how good they actually are when they play super hard and are locked into games. I think they are going to be a top echelon team. But they can get into being a little bit roller coaster-ish, where they, have these ups and downs throughout the season.
If you could wave a magic wand and get just one player one player to come to the Timberwolves that you think would make a difference, who would you pick?
No, that's a good question. Probably one of the guys, like if you look at the Denver Nuggets, I like what they did in their off season. I think Murray is, he's that outside threat that I think is kind of changes the game, and it would allow a player like Ant to cut loose and get free a little bit more. But to be perfectly honest with you, I'm not really good at building the team. I'm just really good at
analyzing it.
Talking about the team that's in front of me. And then, and it's funny because oftentimes I'll look at players who are going from college to the pros and I'll think, are they going to make it? They're going to make it at the pro level. And then they end up being really good pros. So it takes a certain type of brain to kind of really know, like, this player is going to be really good and will fit in on certain teams. And I think every team is trying to figure that out right now.
I think you're exactly right. This team always starts slowly. They kind of figure things out. And I think we need sports give us this. Gives the sense of urgency, and sports wants the leagues and the teams want us to believe that every game is important. They want to heighten that urgency. They want to make you feel like you have to be in your seat. You have to watch every game. Reality is, it's an 82-game season. The Wolves. I have no doubt that the Wolves are one of the 6 best teams in the West. The West is not as deep as it used to be. They're going to be a top 6 seed. They're 3 games out of the 2 seed right now. They haven't even started playing well. And I think 2 really major developments I'm interested in your view. Number one is Clark has proven that he deserves minutes. And Shannon is coming off an injury. And I think, and he's developed his 3-point shot. He could really be the scorer you want to have coming off that bench.
Yeah, I agree with you on both fronts. And what's interesting, like when I watched the Wolves last season, in particular against teams like Indiana and the Celtics when they were fully loaded, the thing that stood out to me the most is that we were not fast enough to play with those guys. And when you get Clark and Terrence Shannon on the court, it changes. Like all of a sudden you have these young legs, they pace better, and it's just way more physical. And so I love the fact that Coach Finch is really working those two and figuring out where they belong and how they get locked in. And, defensively, they just, reading the passing lanes, Clark just is like stealing balls. I mean, so it's really super fun to watch. And so I think they have to be, Coach Finch and his crew have to be really purposeful in making sure that they get the minutes they need to be ready to go at the end of the season when everything ramps up. And so far, they're kind of pacing that way. But I think they have been the most exciting thing to watch this year with the Wolves.
Yeah, you can feel the energy in the building just kind of go straight up as soon as they get on the court, and you just know things are just going to go fast. And then you can see it in the players too, like that they like that up tempo and anything can happen. And then you get Ant in the mix. It's like this powder keg effect almost.
Well, it's what's interesting too about when Rob Dillingham gets in the game, because defensively, he's still struggling, right? He's very slight in size, but my goodness, when he can push the pace, it's wild how quickly he can get the ball up and down the court. And it changes the way then that Ant and Randall and Jaden, how they move, because they're keeping up with him. And so it's super impactful. So if you can figure out different ways to do that with, Terrence Shannon Jr. and Clark, and have these rotations where you can get them playing at that speed, and then get Mike Conley in there when usually in clutch time when you need to settle everybody down, and just get some, Mike is just so great at setting the offense and reading the offense and doing all that. But then when you need to really be playing in pace, you can sub him out and get some different players in.
Yeah, Uncle Mike, right? He comes in, he's like, takes the sugar away from the kids, calms everyone down, makes sure they're on the same page.
That's exactly it. He's just such an adult in the room. It's so funny.
Lea, I wanted to ask you, I know that FanDuel has added Tom Crean to the broadcasts, and what if you've had a chance to really kind of get to know him, or what any experience that you've had with him. I'm kind of dating myself, but he was coaching at Marquette when I was in Milwaukee, and Dwayne Wade was on the team, and he was kind of a cool guy, and obviously all these basketball minds have just interesting perspectives from the coaching point of view. What has your experience been with him, if you've had a chance to even talk with him and work with him?
Yeah, we worked 2 to 3 games together, and it was really fun. I thought he added a really cool dynamic to the broadcast. One, he's a really friendly, interesting guy who a lot of times coaches, clearly he's going to coach again, right? So sometimes when coaches come over to broadcast, they're just kind of there for a minute to do it, but he's like super into it. Asking questions. Should I do this? Should I do that? Even though he's great. But his perspective is just really interesting. And it was really cool to see, because he coached Ant at Georgia, to see that relationship, and to see how Ant was reacting to him when they were talking before games and interacting. Ant was clearly thrilled to see him. And it wasn't just him. He's clearly really connected into the NBA community from various different ways. But his ability to kind of bring that into the broadcast, I thought was really kind of fresh, a little bit different than what we have. So it's been really fun. His son is an assistant coach at Dallas. So when Dallas came to town, it was cool to see them interacting. And he's just one of those players, one of those guys where he's got a million stories, and they're super interesting to listen to. And so I thought it was a really great pickup by FanDuel, with all the changes and things that have been happening there. I thought that was a really smart move.
Hey, Lea, before we wrap up the show, you always have so much going on, public speaking, working with the U, your foundation, everything else. Anything you want to promote or highlight or let us know about right now?
Well, let's see here. What's the latest and the greatest? Right now, I'm kind of just locked in to Timberwolves stuff. And I do have some speaking stuff coming up, but it's kind of more just for private companies that have hired me in.
Cool.
So I will definitely keep you posted, though, if there's anything that's I can get out to people who are looking for. When I go speak on Rethink the Win, it's just trying to get players, coaches, athletes, and people at companies to see that it's not all about the win on the scoreboard, that there's other reasons why we're doing this. So, so if anyone's interested in that, that would be wonderful.
Great.
Awesome. I always have to ask people that do this, like, sometimes it gets nervous for you, right? When you're like, they're businessmen, and how do I keep their attention? Like, you don't want that. Remember when athletes will get that glazed over look sometimes, Lea, and you're like, okay, I know what to ask next. Yeah. But when it's like a group of businessmen and women and you want to keep them on the edge, do you ever get nervous that way, or no?
It's funny. It's not so much I'm nervous, but I'm trying to be thoughtful of, like, because what I'm sharing is stories from the sports world. And like, sometimes I'm trying to make it clear to them, I know that these all don't translate necessarily to your business, but a lot of it will, because a lot of it is just human interactions. As we talked about in this podcast, how to connect with people, how to make people feel seen and valued and heard, all of that kind of stuff, but then bringing it through the lens of sports. Yeah. And so, and then without getting too sportsy, because, a lot of people, maybe aren't interested actually in the X's and O's, but more just about team building and what it is to be a great teammate and all of that. And so, but lastly, also making sure it makes sense to their world. Yeah. And so I think that's the biggest part I'm really aware of, is like, they're not just there to hear my stories or Leah's story, but how those stories are applicable to their lives.
Well, I think that you're amazing at it, and I've known you for a long time. And every time you talk, it doesn't matter the topic, I'm like, what's she saying? I'm going to learn something. So I appreciate you for sure.
Thank you so much.
And just to make sure everybody knows that Lea is now part of the Talk North family, we will have her on all the time during the Lynx season. We hope to have her on like this, have her kind of be our spotlight guest and partner periodically throughout the women's college basketball season. Whenever there is basketball news, of course, we love having her on talking about the Wolves too. So just want to say thank you to Lea, and please keep checking her out.
Yeah, thanks, Lea. We appreciate you. We'll see you again soon.
Sounds great. Thanks so much.